Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Crane, and I am the Program Director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And you are listening to Global Industry Spotlight, a conversational series focused on providing resources and insight for the creative entrepreneur. We are here to connect with you, network, discuss business, and all things creative entrepreneurship. We are streaming live out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio, a room designed for Chicago's small business community, located at 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. The Global Industry Spotlight today is on Ricardo Rodrigues, CEO and co-founder of Let's Gig, booking and music services based out of Brazil. Ricardo acts as manager and agent since 2016, working with artists such as Luedji Luna, Majur, Giovani Cidreira, Tuyo, Rico Dalasam, FBC, and more. Also member of the consulting board of São Paulo Internacional, Music Week, SIM São Paulo. As festival producer and curator, he is the co-founder of Festival CONTATO that takes place in São Carlos, countryside of São Paulo, since 2007. As entrepreneur, owner, and programmer at the music venue Gig, also in São Carlos. At the moment, he's also majoring in MBA on business management at USP at ESALQ, University of São Paulo. I'm excited to bring in Ricardo to talk to him today. Hi, Ricardo.
Hi there, hello Daniel. Thanks a lot for inviting me. Huge pleasure to be able to talk from São Paulo to you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot for coming.
yeah. I'm looking forward to our conversation today. I met
Great.
Ricardo at South by Southwest. I'm a big fan of Tuyo, and they did one of the opening slots out South by Southwest, which is a big slot, and it was a big gig, and they absolutely crushed it. And then I was able to meet the band and meet Ricardo, and we've been talking ever since. Since him and I are both, curators and festival producers, we have lots in common. And I've been to São Paulo, and I love Brazil, and I love Brazilian music, so it's great to kind of get to talk to you about that. So before we kind of get into what you're doing and Let's Gig, and can you just give me a little bit about your background?
Great. Yeah, that definitely was a great show at South by. That was the best place for us to meet. Well, I'm actually from São Paulo, the capital of the state, from the big city of São Paulo, chaotic city. I'm from the poorest part of the city, but I was lucky to be able to have a lot of support from my family to be able to get on a public university and have a good experience at the university studying audiovisual production in São Carlos on a federal university, Federal University of São Carlos. And that was a really great experience to be able to leave São Paulo and to have a different view from culture and from to be able to fully immerse on studying in São Carlos. And I had a great experience because it's also a city that is a small city, but with people from all around the country and the world that goes there, especially to study. There's a big number of students in the city, and that was really an amazing place to learn, to be able to experiment. My first experience on working with culture and music. Right after I graduate, I started to work as a director of the radio station of the university, Radio UFSCar, and I was able to put to be the first director and to build all the programming of the radio. The radio didn't exist when I started directing the project, so I was able to put the radio on the air, and we had the lucky to have a radio that was connected to, and open with connected with the whole community of the university and the city, and we could focus our programming on new music, new independent music. Different from the most of the FM radio stations in the country. So that was an amazing experience, and I was able to connect with the independent music scene. And we also had a good programming focus on new music from all around the world and to show the diversity of cultures. And that was amazing to be able to do that. And at the time was passing, we were able to start the Festival CONTATO, and there was also a space that we could bring to the city the independent music scene to show to showcase the bands that we were playing on the radio, and that put us on this interesting music scene in a small city. And that was a great experience. And after that, I started a gig as a music venue. And I was still on the radio, but after a few years, as the political situation in Brazil started to get really worse, the funding for public radio stations and even for public university started to decrease.
Mm-hmm.
The university didn't have enough money to support the radio, and I had to leave the radio, and I focused on the festival and the music venue, and I started Let's Gig, and started to, as I had the opportunity to connect with the music business as working at the radio and the festival, I had a good network of contacts, so, and I have a good connection with artists. So I said, well, why not to take this context and then use that on the other place of the negotiation. So I started selling shows, and then I brought some new partners to be able to put Let's Gig to proper work. And now we are 4 partners, Gabriela, Fernanda, and Eduardo, and we work together with many different artists too. But now we are very much focused on the booking part of the business, but we are also a music label.
Yeah, I mean,
make it short.
No, that's an amazing kind of journey of your life, right? It's like you get this great opportunity, as a young person to expand your horizons and get exposed to culture. And it's interesting to me the importance of radio for a lot of people in the music industry, and how
Definitely.
Having your own radio show really is a great kind of step if you want to get into the industry. But then and you're meeting new artists and you're pushing new artists. I mean, especially here in the US, maybe not as much anymore, but college radio when I was growing up was really important in terms of breaking new artists and being able to meet new audiences, and obviously college kids are the ideal people to be consuming music, especially at that time and even today. And then opening up a venue, which I've helped open a venue and run a venue, which is very hard work.
Yes. Well, it lasts for 6 years.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience, one of the best years of my life. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend for a lot of people to open a music venue. Too hard.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I think I was there for about 5 years, and someone asked me, would I open up my own venue? I said, absolutely not. And I loved it. I mean, it was such a beautiful. I was able to bring a lot of different people together, and it was a beautiful experience. But
exactly, yeah.
But it's a tough business, and you really have to be on it 24/7.
Exactly.
And
every
okay.
Time I meet.
Go ahead.
Every time I meet a music venue owner, I am always very thankful. I always give a warm hug.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for making it happen.
It's gonna be okay. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a guy I talked to from Huntsville, Alabama, who is the actual like a Huntsville music officer, and he helped a venue in Austin turn around within 6 months. And I told him, I said, that's very impressive, because I just know how much it takes, marketing and even operations and finding the right people, to work in the space. I mean, all of these things are intense. Okay. So you have this venue for 6 years, you start this festival, and then, you've built this amazing network, and you start Let's Gig, and you have such an incredible roster of artists, 2 of them who I own their records, which is great. But talk about kind of that transition of wanting to start Let's Gig. Like when was the moment you were like, okay, this is what I want to do?
That's great. Yeah, until today, I still think that the booking agent and the whole booking system in Brazil is too small for the size and the number of artists that we have. There are very few booking agencies here in Brazil. And all the time when I was working, like buying concerts, I had to work straight with some artists sometimes, or with managers that were responsible for the whole career of the artist, and they didn't have like enough time or even experience of focusing on selling the show, on actually booking, on having a strategy to the live part of the career of the artist. So I always said, well, I know this is a place that there is a lot of space to build something new. And when right after I left the radio station, after 6 years, after 8 years, and I said, well, I maybe the experience that I had buying concerts gave me a lot of experience to understand what the one that is buying the show needs. I knew they need. So I said, well, I think I can work with artists that I really believe first, and to understand how can I work with them and build the opportunities for them. I was going to do that pretty slowly because I already had the venue and the festival. So
Right.
I said, well, let's do it slowly. Let's understand how to be a booking agent. But the thing is that one of the first artists that I started to work with was Lírica e os Caramelos. And right after they released the first singles, they got viral. And it was like something huge pretty quickly, millions of views. And she had an amazing work, but she was very, very young. She had never even performed live their own music yet. So I had to work with them a lot since their first show ever to non-announcers. So I had to build that with them at the same time that it was getting really viral, and people were crazy about buying the show. I need to book that, but I said, well, wait, I need to prepare the show. So I had the opportunity to build with them,
Right.
and we had to build a whole strategy, thinking on where to play, what kind of venue, what the size of the venue, and to build something that the band could grow in terms of live performing, and at the same time give the audience and give the media what they want. They want to start to see that. But the
Right.
band, I knew the band wasn't really ready yet to play live. So we started playing on small concerts. They were all sold out pretty quickly, and that made the buzz even bigger. And we had an amazing strategy in working with them for 5 years. In today, and look what happened. It was a really amazing experience. And in the beginning, during this period with Lírica dos Caramelos, I was working also with the managing part. So I was doing the 360 of the career. But after this experience, we travel all around the world. They had like more than 100 shows per year. They
Wow.
play in 30 different countries. They were Grammy nominees. They play at really big festivals, 2 times at South by Southwest. They play at Glastonbury. They play in many big shows. So after that, I said, well, great. We had an amazing experience with them, but maybe we still think that it's better to work only with the agent, only as a booking agent.
Mm-hmm.
So during this 5 years with them, we started working with new artists, with other artists, but very much focused on the working as a booking agent. And we saw that was the best part. And once we focus on that, we could deliver a better job for the artists.
Right.
And we had a great response from the music business here in Brazil too. And we have, at the moment, we're even trying to think how we can help to give formation education to people that want to work as a booking agent, because the business definitely needs people
It needs people.
with that experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to kind of step back a little bit. So, when an artist becomes viral, it's a big moment for the artist. What were
Yeah.
some of the things that you really explained it well, of everyone's like, okay, we need this person, and you as the the
Yeah.
booking agent and manager, you said we have to slow down. This is a moment, but we have to be smart and strategize. Um, what were some of the things you felt like you did well in that moment? Was it like you booked, you were able to just kind of like give them a roadmap that they could handle because you knew that the artist wasn't quite ready for live performance? Like, what's the job of the booking agent manager in that scenario? Like, okay, so I become viral. What's next?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing we did was understanding how much the show was ready for different kinds of venues. So
Mm-hmm.
which venues the show would work better, and they need stage experience. So we focus on markets that we know that they have like good music venues, but in a small, medium size, and that we could test the show even before doing big shows on on the bigger markets. For example, São Paulo, we hold a lot for almost 4 months to do a really big show. We did only small venues
Mm-hmm.
because really small, like 100, 200, 300, slowly growing and always sold out in 10 minutes, all the tickets. But many journalists, for example, they was like kind of mad. They said, "Oh, I can't go to the show. I'm crazy about going to the show, but I never get a ticket." I said, "Yeah, yeah, I know," and we did that on purpose. So we wait. As when we said, "Well, now the band is ready to play in a bigger stage." We did that in São Paulo. We test first in other markets. Well, Brazil, as US, is a huge country, it's a continental country. So we had like many different markets. So we could experiment in a few festivals in other cities. For example, they play in the Carnival in Recife, in a huge concert there. But that was like first time they were playing a big festival, really crowded. But it's during Carnival, so everyone is very open to like the show. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew that it would work, and the whole programming of the festival is the kind of festival that the music that they did, they were doing, it were perfect for that festival.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going to work. Then in Rio de Janeiro, for example, we had an invitation to play in a huge stage that is Circo Voador. It's a very important venue in Rio, the most important, I would say. And but I was kind of afraid because I knew they could sold out, but they had never played there yet. So it's the first time in Rio. So let's do an opening show. So we play as an opening act for Tulipa Ruiz. There's a really amazing artist from Brazil too. And the thing is, the place was totally sold out. So people were is a place there where people were very close to the stage. It's a very warm show. So they had this great spirits, but they were an opening act, so they didn't have that much of pressure over them to
Right.
sell tickets or anything like that. But it were already sold out. So even the venue until today, they say that was the crowdest opening act they ever had
Right.
because people were crazy. They were viral. People want to see that.
Yeah,
But
that's
we were
amazing.
still testing. After that, we did many different shows in Circo Voador, always sold out,
Yeah.
and played for more than 2,000 people every time.
So the
So
so the
it was choosing the markets strategically, and
right.
also understanding how the music that they do can work on those markets, and choose very carefully. But we did made a lot of shows, because we put them to play a lot on small venues. We
Right.
did a lot that to so they could understand how working on the roads would be,
Right.
how traveling, how to be prepared for the show, to be quickly prepared, to be able to do a nice sound check, things, very basic things. The band already had more experience on touring than Lineker as a front woman, but they were still understanding how they work together.
Yeah.
So it was really important for them to do that, and
And
that
you
worked very
helped
well.
you helped develop that process. I think that's what, you know,
Yeah,
it sounds like people are lucky if they get to work with you. Just in terms of you being able. Well, yeah, I mean, it's important for artists. I mean, it's such, especially young artists, to have someone to help guide them and prepare them for the Glastonbury's, for the South by Southwest. And
yeah,
it seems like, you had developed a strategy for their development, right? Not to rush it, but to really give
yeah,
them the right experience to grow as a band and to be able to be super comfortable touring, playing on short notice, like, just kind of ready to go. So
Yeah.
moving forward with Let's Gig, you have now an incredible roster of artists. What are some of the main main things that you're focused on right now in terms of putting your artists out there?
Well, definitely the part of building the show together with the artist is something that we're very focused right now.
Mm-hmm.
We as booking agents, we are not like responsible for the artistic part of the show. We're not responsible for that. That's something that the manager and the artist have to do. But I really believe that if the artists listen to what we have to put on ideas and how the show can work, because that's something that we have a lot of experience. How the show work with the kind of stage that the band is playing on. So we've been talking a lot with the bands, and I think now they start to listen properly because sometimes the artists don't want us to get too much involved, but it's normal. We totally understand that. But when they do, they start to understand that sometimes the artists always think really big. They want to do like this huge show with a huge band, a huge projection and lights. And okay, sometimes you can go in that direction, but is that the right time to do that? Is this the show that you're going to play right now, the kind of stage that you're playing right now? Is it the best place that you can invest your money and even invest your time on preparing, rehearsing? So when we have a nice dialogue, the artists start to understand that sometimes that show, especially, you can do with a small version of the show because that's what they want. They're not expecting a huge show. So when we start to be able to show more to show the artists how we can have a strategy also together on the artistic part of the show, it works pretty well. And also when we are very aware of what the band is preparing in terms of new releases, of the kind of partnership that they want to do musically, featuring artists that they can start to build, because we can, as booking agents, direct that in some way, to start to connect that and give opportunities for them to meet, for them to start to build something with new artists, with new markets that they want to build. So as much as we have a good dialogue with the artists, definitely works very much.
Yeah.
Another thing that we are right now pretty much concerned, I know that something is all around the world, but it's 4 countries that are continental, like Brazil, US. The logistic part is really important right now because of the expenses. It's pretty high.
A lot of tours have
something that is
canceled.
changing.
A
lot of tours are canceled. Yeah, we didn't really have to cancel tours yet, but we're trying to use the moment right now to understand how we can relate to that, because it's something that is going to happen. We know it's happening, but at the same time, the artists want to receive better fees because they want to invest on the artistic part. They want to have a team working with them full time. So the show becomes expensive. But in a moment that for a festival, for a music venue, it's pretty expensive to buy the show too, because of the logistic and all this. Everything is pretty expensive right now, actually. So that's a big deal that we are trying to understand right now, what we're going to do and what can we do in terms of innovation, thinking on 2023.
Right. What are some of your ideas behind that? I mean, I know for, artists here, there's definitely been some like smaller tours of people who can usually go out that they just have realized that they're going to lose a lot of money. So where do you think, what are some of the innovative ways that you guys are thinking will help, deal with, like you said, the logistical expenses?
Yeah. Well, this is not really something that we have sorted out 100% yet, but definitely what we're trying to sort out is in terms of technology, special instruments, and what kind of structure we can buy, at least in terms of what the band can take as a
Right.
back line, and that will help them to be able to travel with a little smaller
Setup.
team
Hmm.
for setup. Yeah, especially South by Southwest, for example, we travel only the producers and the band, the three artists of the band, and they took their own. Uh, shit, what's the name? Well, they own the full equipment, so they only send to the venue like two channels, totally two now, but
Yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah.
ready,
They were
ready
ready.
to
Yeah.
play,
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
they were fully ready to play. So that's something that wherever we can go, it's easy to make it happen. Especially when you are on working on building a career or building audiences. So if you, sometimes sometimes also for a Tuyo, for example, sometimes lights are even more important
Right.
depending on the venue, because like we cannot travel without lighting operation in some kind of venues, because it's totally part of the show. So and so if we can go with a sound creel that's a little bit smaller, it
Hmm.
helps a lot too, because at least to make it happen. Of
Yeah.
course, when we are in São Paulo, most of the team and the artists today, they work in São Paulo. It's the biggest market in Brazil, and so it's easier to put a bigger team on the shows. But to travel, especially when we involve air flights, so it's really expensive.
Yeah.
But what we want to do, it's not easy in Brazil yet. I know that US is easier to do that, just to be able to do more tour by bus or by van, because you have more cities that you can play.
Right.
Uh, in Brazil, if you want to do a concert in Bahia, for example,
You
you
have to
would
fly
take 3 days,
to
so you
drive.
have to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and it would be great if you have like this whole uh, roads that we could do um, by
Right.
bus, but
Touring.
it's not easy
Yeah.
to, yeah, properly through touring, but it's not really easy to do that right now. But we are trying to map all the opportunities that we have to be able to travel by, by bus as much as we can.
Yeah.
That's
So
something we're trying to do.
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. So when you go out to the East Coast here in the US, you have, New York
Yeah,
City, Boston, Washington, D.C., all of these major cities that are pretty close to each other. Um,
yeah,
so you can build a tour around kind of specific spaces. Um, with Brazil being such a massive creator of music and culture, how do you see it like everyone all over I mean, not everyone, but I will say a lot of people all over the world love Brazilian music, right? So, I know the European channels, the American channels, um, love, like we were talking about Sessa, and there's just some artists that have been kind of popping up in different places. Um,
yeah,
how do you bring the music to these places, right? So everyone loves Brazilian music, but it's very expensive for you to, do you have support to
yeah.
export the sounds to Europe and to the US, or how do you approach doing that? Like you're doing with Tuyo and these type of bands.
Yeah. Well, this is a huge challenge.
Mhm.
That's something important, is that most of the image that people have of Brazilian music is
Mhm.
changing now. But until a couple of years ago, what people know about Brazilian music is pretty old music. It's like
Right,
music from, they know Caetano Veloso,
right, right,
Milton Nascimento, Gilberto Gil, but they don't know much of the new scene in Brazil. That's
hmm,
something that we are building. We have some very popular artists right now that are starting to change something, as Anita or Pablo Vittar, some artists that are playing really huge festivals and are releasing songs with very huge pop, international pop artists. But that's not what we have the most here, and maybe not even the most interesting artists that we have, because as you know Cessa, you know some
right,
new artists that you know Tuyo, that's
right.
great. Luedji Luna,
Hmm.
Lineker. So we do have an amazing scene, and we are trying to be able to take them abroad. The
What coun-
thing
what
is that
country what country is best? Like what country is easiest to export to? Like, Like, are there a couple, countries that you feel are the best places to send, like Tuyo, or I'm just because I talked to someone from Chile Musica, or I talked to Oliver. I think you might know him, but
Yeah, 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 definitely.
yeah. So he was saying how the triangle for them is Chile, in Mexico, Spain. Like those are the kind of big
Mhm.
markets for the type of music that they're pushing out. What would you say would be for Brazil?
Yeah. Well, definitely Portugal is like pretty close, so
Right.
because of the language, it's
Hmm.
easier. And when you think about Argentina, it sounds like pretty close, but that's not something that really happens. It's not that
Hmm.
much a number of artists that is playing there. What we see every year is that a huge number of Brazilian artists going to Europe. And that happens especially because it's in France and Germany, they do have a lot of interest in Brazilian music, and they have a lot of world music festivals that are very
Hmm.
open to Brazilian music. We've been trying, especially in Spain, to be able to do something more consistent, especially on working with together with the music conference that they have there, and
Hmm.
some festivals like Primavera Sound, for example. We always have been able to take in Brazilian artists over there. So and that happens because for us it's much easier to travel to Europe in terms of visa.
Right.
That helps a lot too.
Yeah.
But I do think the US is a huge market for Brazilian music. That's why since 2017, we've been trying, especially here at Let's Gig, to open opportunities for Brazilian artists in the US. Even though visa is pretty expensively hard to have to get for Brazilian artists, we've been able to do some really good work, especially we had with Lineker, but we also have with Luedji Luna some really amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
They both were present Tiny Desk concert. Then we had
Yeah.
some project that
That's
was
big.
really good, and we said, well, yeah. And right after we did that, we saw how it was really. Well, I think it's even changing right now. Maybe what I'm trying to understand that I think that North American are more open for music that is not singing in English. I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm trying. I'm feeling that right now.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'll say
yeah.
just from the ground up here, there's this artist, the Bruno Burley, who just put a record out,
Yeah.
Sessa. I mean, and I was talking in some circles, and people knew who these people were, and I was very
Mhm.
surprised. That I think,
Yeah.
maybe 8, 10 years ago, no one would really know, um, about those
And,
kinds of groups. So
yeah, and the experience that we had were that in Europe you have a lot of opportunities, but it's pretty hard to grow.
mm,
Like once they saw you, they okay, you can grow, but it's very slow. It's very
yeah,
slow to grow and to get better fees to be able to support a full tour. But in the US, the experience that we had is that you have to start really from the bottom because you have to people have to pay the attention for you. You have to start some. But when they see that you are doing something really good and professional, you get quickly you have much better opportunities.
yeah,
So we had like it was quicker to be able to receive little bit better fees, really bad opportunities. The logistic part was a little bit easier. So I really believe that U.S. is a huge market for Brazilian music, especially right now. So I really think, especially because there are a lot of Brazilians too. So there is a lot of audience in many different regions too.
right,
So that's something that can help at least to make it viable, to have the number of tickets to start to do something interesting.
yeah,
And so that's that. Actually, it's really great to be able to be here talking with you, trying to get people that are listening to us and interested in Brazilian music. Maybe we could chat and start working together to
yeah,
make happen. Right?
absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a big I mean, I love Brazilian music. I've been to Brazil a couple of times. I'm always, when I was in São Paulo, I was absolutely blown away by the culture. Being able to, see a baile funk concert, and then go and see like a punk rock group in a basement playing like punk music and like with a samba vibe, and all the way to seeing like maracatu and like traditional groups playing. I mean, it was just in and the artwork all over the city. it was quite extraordinary. Um,
That's great.
and being able to study some drumming down there as well. I was always, when I come back to the U.S., I'm always just like, you have to really keep your eye on Brazil if you're a music connoisseur, because the innovation that's happening there is just, it's always at a very high level. I feel like people are creating music and innovating, just and making wonderful sounds. So I'm definitely, grateful to have met you, and seeing Tuyo was quite a fun moment, but also to be helping try to export or bring some of that great Brazilian vibe here to the U.S. So just so to wrap up, and I could talk to you for the next 2 hours because I think we have a lot in common in terms of even the way that we build music festivals and but if you're a starting manager, or you're saying, hey, I have a bunch of artists, I see this opportunity, I want to do a record label and also do kind of booking, what would be some advice you would give to people?
Well, yeah, it's pretty hard to give those advice because the market right now is so crazy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
especially after pandemics
yeah.
hit. So we're still trying to figure out what's going
Right.
to happen. But what I really think is that every band has to build their own business model.
Hmm.
Sometimes touring and playing live is really important for the band, is where they can make money, is where they can to relate with their audience. But sometimes that's not the best thing to do. Sometimes you have to do less shows and focus on producing new music, focus on trying to working with brands. So you have to understand what's the business model that works for the band, the size of the band, how many partners are working together. So that's really important because sometimes people always want to do everything at the same time, and they think that everyone has to do because they see another artist doing, they have to do the same thing. So you have to look at the band, look at what's around the band, the people that are involved, and understand what is really important to them and what they want to make it happen in a period that you have to look in a short time, in a medium time, and what they want for the future. So planning is really important. It's
Yeah,
really
that's
important. Yeah, and then
yeah.
also understand when you have to replan. You have to rethink everything that you thought because you thought because it's not working. But it's not easy. There's not like stable formats how to do. It's pretty difficult, and it's difficult everywhere. It's difficult for everyone, even for who is doing very well right now. It's
Hmm.
being difficult. So that I think is the most important, to understand what's viable and what you can do on the short period, and to build something looking ahead where you want to go. It's the most
Yeah.
important right now. And
This is great.
also worrying about the money too, to make to in a long term, because sometimes you got to invest everything that you have in that, when you're beginning, and then suddenly you don't get it back, and then you're not able to keep on on doing what you want. So it is hard, and it's not
Yeah.
only for you, it's for everyone.
I think these are all really great points, Ricardo, that one size does not fit all. Everyone has to kind of
Yeah,
build their own career, but you do need to focus on your business model. And I know for
yeah,
artists, even money planning is a big thing, right? When the gigs dry up, the money dries up. What are you going to do now? Being able to have some sort of plan to build a sustaining career,
yeah.
or one that lasts, and making sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And one thing you can first do is work with Ricardo, because he obviously, from this discussion, knows how to plan, strategize, and to think about how to build a career that's based on your own strengths. I think it was a great thing of saying, looking at an artist and being able to assess what is going to work for them, and what works for them may not work for the next artist. So, Ricardo, I'm going to put the website below. Thank you so much again for joining me. This has been a great conversation. I Someday I'm going to come to São Paulo. I remember meeting
Yes.
a woman at South by, I think in 2018, that was from
Fabi.
there. and it was, I just would love to come check out what's going on. It'd be great to be back in Brazil as well. But yeah, we'll be in touch. And thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, man. You'll be very welcome here in Brazil. I hope I can show you around. There are a lot of new stuffs around, and I want to get back to Chicago as soon as possible too. So awesome. I love the city. I had a amazing experience when I have been there. So hope to be back soon too.
Awesome. What a great conversation with Ricardo from letsgig.com.br, a Brazilian curator, manager, booking agent. Obviously, from this conversation, has a lot of knowledge in the industry and seems very methodical about how he approaches each artist and what is going to bring them success. Again, my name is Daniel Crane. I am the program director of the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And this was another episode of Global Industry Spotlight, a conversational series focused on providing resources and insight for the creative entrepreneur. We are here to connect with you, network, discuss business, and all things creative entrepreneurship. We are streaming out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio located at 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. Thank you to Comcast Business and Shure for providing the tools necessary to make our programming possible. Visit cceglobal.org to register for free workshops. Find us on Instagram and Facebook. Stay in touch. Let us know what you think about what we are doing or if you have any questions. We're looking to connect you with new opportunities and help grow your career as well. Wishing everyone a wonderful rest of their day. We will talk with you soon and take care. Ciao.